I am so excited to have Ashley Sanchez on Friendlies today. Ash and I are both UCLA Bruins. Ash won her first NWSL championship in 2021 with the Washington Spirit, and she now plays midfield for the North Carolina Courage. Ash is one of the most skilled and creative players in the women's game right now. She's known for no-look passes, back heels, and these clever through balls that make you want to rewind the TV. She plays with flair, and she's so fun to watch carve up defenses with her dribbling and passing. I am such a big fan of Ash. I think the sky is the limit for her. She has all of the skills and tools that she needs to succeed at the highest level. If I was still playing, I would be very aware of Ash as a midfielder that I have to worry about. Ash, welcome to the women's game.
Hi, thank you for having me.
I am so excited that you're here. We like kind of go way back. Like we both went to UCLA. I'm like, do you know that I love doing the 8 clap? Like, have I ever forced you to do the 8 clap?
No, but I haven't done that in so long. I
know. If people don't know, the 8 clap is UCLA's like cheer where you go hands in the air and 1, 2, 3, right? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, U, C, LA, UCLA, fight, fight, fight.
I guess I do remember when you sing it.
I know. I like still do it like once a month just to like remind myself because I love it so much. Okay. You had such an incredible college career. I remember like hearing about you coming up and how well you were playing in your final season as a Bruin right before you entered the draft. What's your favorite memory of your time in Westwood?
I don't know. There were so many. I felt like just playing with so many great players. And I would say Jessie just because she's back in the league. Like
Jessie Fleming.
Seeing her playing and being around her, I got to see her when we played Portland. But I don't know. I mean, we never beat Stanford. So like, not fun. But I don't know. I love just playing in LA. That was like one of the main reasons that I chose UCLA because I wanted my family to be able to come. So I think that was like my best experience, just like having so much family in the stands at every home game.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. You're from Southern California, so going to UCLA so close to home must have been so great. Your family got to come to every game. But ever since you left school, you've been on the East Coast. Like, do you like it over here, or are you like still definitely a West Coast girl?
Honestly, I thought I was kind of an East Coast girly, but then we played LA last week, and I was kind of like, dang, I do miss it a little bit. But yeah, I couldn't be like farther than I am from my family, which is a little hard, but I also feel like I'm like growing up now, like finally.
Yeah, I know. I feel that. Well, I did the opposite. Like I went far away for college and felt like I really had to grow up in college and then kind of came back towards the East Coast for club for when I started playing professionally. I just want to know a couple of places that you do miss about LA. Like when I lived in Westwood, when I went to UCLA, I would always go to 800 Degrees. Did you ever go there, the pizza place?
Yeah.
Yeah?
It was so good. We would go there after every game. And then there was this like, what was it called? There was this like Chinese place that I would get like 3 times a week. And they would stack up the food. And I don't remember what it was called.
Oh my gosh, I don't know what that is called either.
It was so good though.
Oh my gosh.
I would say now, going back, Erewhon. Oh, so good.
Erewhon's like, I mean, I know what it is. It's like the fancy grocery store, right? But we like, I don't think it was like around, well, apparently when I was there years and years ago, it wasn't around. So we would just go to Whole Foods.
Yeah, no, it was like the last year I was there was when it was like, became like a big thing, I feel like.
What
and
would
now
you get?
Now it's hyped.
It's hyped.
Oh, sushi, breakfast burritos, buffalo cauliflower. So good.
That does sound so good. Okay, LA foods aside, I do want to talk about the national team a little bit. You first got called into the senior national team when you were 17 years old, and we were actually at that camp together. It was in Florida, and it was just a few months before the 2016 Olympics, and I remember like, Ash, I was so stressed because I wanted to make the roster so bad, but at that camp, it started seeming like I wasn't going to. And then you, another midfielder who's like sick and creative and fast, showed up. And I was like, oh my God, I'm like really not going to make it. What do you remember about your first ever camp when you were just 17 years old?
I remember I was really intimidated, obviously. But I had just come from, I think it was qualifiers with the 17s.
Yeah.
And I had a really good tournament. And I was like, oh, I'm going to go in there like a little confident, whatever. And then I was like, oh no, I'm like really scared, like really scared. And it's funny because Hype will bring up like one training that like I was going against Carly and I megged her. I don't even think I necessarily meant to. And she like pushed me to the floor. And Hype's like, welcome to the big leagues. Like he brings it up all the time. But
Heifetz, just for people who don't know, Aaron Heifetz is like the media director of U.S. Soccer. He's been around forever, and we all have such a great relationship with him. And of course, he would bring that up all the time. That's so cute. What else do you remember?
Just like going, and I thought like when I got there, I was looking around, and I was just like, this isn't like real life right now. Like I almost couldn't even grasp the fact that I was like actually there. And then we had a fun little joyride.
Okay, we did. Okay, you guys.
Disneyland.
Yeah, listen to this. So there was some like complicated thing where like a scrimmage got rained out or something, and we ended up moving it. And Jill Ellis was the coach at the time, and she was kind of like, "Don't go crazy today. Like, make sure you guys are resting." But then, like, obviously, 4 of us. It was me, Sonnet, Sanchez, and Mal. And we were like, "We'll just go to Harry Potter World for 1 hour, and then we'll come back and rest." We shouldn't have done that. Obviously, that was so stupid. We all learned our lesson. But it was very lost. When I first got called into camp, Ash, I was in college, so a little bit older than you were. And I remember, like, I did feel really out of my depth. Like, I think I learned immediately that I had so much work to do. I think where I was in college, like, I was doing really well. So I was like, yeah, I should go into national team camp. And then the second I got there, I was like, oh my God, I, like, don't know what I'm doing, especially defensively. So I'm curious, after this first experience that you had, what kind of feedback did you get? And then how did you like respond to it? And what did you go home and work on?
The main point that I got from Jill was, you were like not professional enough. And that was so fair. Little triggering, but like so fair.
Harry Potter World like did not help. And I feel so responsible for that still, that I should never have done that with you. Such a bad example.
No, it was a lot of things, but that definitely did not help me.
No.
But yeah, I definitely feel like, and that's like in every aspect of things, like I probably wasn't being coachable enough, or like you said, like defensively, I had no idea what tactics were. I'm like 16, like
yeah.
All of those things. Like I just had a lot to work on. And I knew that after literally day 1. I was like, oh, this is different than my U17 like trainings, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Well, so then you go back, you go home, and then you go off to UCLA, and you end up getting called back in with the national team, and you got your first cap in 2021. So this is a few years later. What was different this time? Like, were you more comfortable? Did you feel like you were playing well? Like, what did you work on, and how did you grow in that time in between?
Yeah, I definitely think coming into the league helped me a lot. I felt like I kind of had done everything I could have at the college level. And like I left early and wanted to kind of put myself in an uncomfortable position. And I just think like the speed of play and like being coached tactically really helped. But I also felt like it was just being able to play alongside and against like grown women, you know, like it is a big difference. Speed of play, you know, you have players who are 30 plus that have like been in the game forever that are just like so smart, and they don't even need to be the most athletic person on the field. And I think I just honestly learned a lot in those, I don't remember how long I was in the league before I got called in, but even just a couple months, it had changed the way I played for sure.
Yeah, well, you started out great. I mean, you came into the league right in 2020, right? Right during like COVID, which must have been like a really, really difficult transition. But I remember that you won the Future Legends Award at the Challenge Cup that year, which was kind of the only opportunity really that we got to play during COVID. So you had an impact right away. You got called in shortly after that. And since then, you've accumulated 27 caps with the national team, and you made your first major tournament roster last year at the 2023 World Cup. I think everybody expected that you were going to have a huge impact on that tournament and play lots of minutes. You played in all 8 U.S. women's national team matches ahead of the World Cup, averaging 50 minutes per match, consistently playing in the midfield or subbing in maybe for Rose Lavelle, kind of in that 8-10 position. As you were heading into the tournament, what were your expectations? What did you imagine that your role would be at the World Cup?
I definitely thought I was going to play. Rose had been injured, so I was told actually that I was going to have a big impact and play a lot of minutes. So yeah, that was exactly what I was expecting.
Yeah. So to everybody's surprise, you didn't play in any of the US's 4 games. And Ash, like, I've sat on the bench a lot for the national team, but I can't imagine the agony of experiencing sitting on the bench unexpectedly and during a World Cup when you expected to have a big impact on the team. And I know you said in another interview that it wasn't what you had planned. So I imagine this situation was really hard. Can you describe at all what it felt like to be there, like so close to what you wanted, but so far, and to have to go through all of that while the team kind of struggled their way through?
What made it a little bit more difficult was that I knew before the first game that I wasn't going to play. So when we were struggling, I kind of want to be like, I could maybe help or change or, give a different look, but I knew that I wasn't going to go in.
How did you know?
Oh, I was told that I wasn't going to play.
Okay.
Yeah. So then it was kind of like, I was trying to make the best of a situation, but it was definitely hard. The trainings after games are like pretty brutal. Just like getting past those also while just like, no, I can't even get my hopes up, sitting on the bench, kind of just, it's really hard. And I think when I was in it, I was kind of like, you don't want to look back and have such a negative idea of something that you dreamed of your whole life,
Yeah.
But when you're in the moment, you're trying so hard to like think of the positives, but you're also like, yeah, but I'm here. I worked my ass off to be here and I know I'm not going to play, So it is really difficult. It was really difficult, but I mean, I had really good friends around me, honestly. That was like the best part. Cause I was like, if I didn't have people, oh my God, it would have been so bad, so bad. But yeah, that was definitely probably the hardest moment of my career. And I guess it wasn't a moment because it was like a month long.
Yeah. I'm like struggling with where to even go next because I mean, I have experience not playing again, but I think the kind of juxtaposition of what you're describing of your dream came true when you made the roster and how hard it must have been to not see it go as you imagined, and then paired with the team not doing well. It sounds so difficult. I'm so glad that you feel like you had good friends there. And honestly, I have heard how good of an attitude you had throughout the whole thing, which is the most exemplary and like mature response I think anybody could have in that situation. Who did you lean on while you were there that like really helped you through those hard moments?
Definitely like Soph and Nay and Trin, because those are like the younger girls, they're like my little squad. But
yeah, so that's Sophia Smith, Naomi Girma, and Trinity Rodman.
Mm-hmm. And then I definitely went to Kelly a lot because Kelly's just like such a good person to talk to, and she's obviously been there so many times and she's just so wise. So I went to her a lot too, and she honestly really helped me.
Yeah. That's amazing. I feel like the strongest bonds are formed in those moments when Sonnet and I were alternates at the Olympics. Like I like feel this like literally forever connection to Sonnet because we went through that really, really hard time together, and it just bonds you with people in like such a powerful way. This is like a really hard question, Sanchez. How did you feel when the team lost that game against Sweden and you all had to head home?
I was obviously really sad, but at the same time, I almost didn't feel like I was part of it, which was really hard because I was like, oh, I didn't really contribute so that was kind of like a hard thing to swallow because it felt like not like I wasn't part of the team. Like, obviously, I felt like part of the team, but like it was difficult because I was just kind of watching almost like a fan almost. But like obviously these are like my closest friends and all that, but like they just had such a different experience than I did.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why too I think it was a little bit easier to talk to Kelly sometimes because like a lot of my friends were playing.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to be like pouring things onto them. They didn't need that. So I felt like Kelly was like very open and like she was playing a little bit, but like she was kind of on more of like my side of things. But I think that was a hard part too, is like having to like almost deal with it myself because I was like, I don't want to like put this on anyone else. Like it's hard. Like it's hard for everyone, no matter if you're playing or not playing. It's just really hard. So I feel like I didn't process until I got home and I was like, oh my gosh, that was way worse than I thought.
I just want to like pause and like thank you so much for sharing all of this. It sounds so hard. When you did get home and start processing not only the team losing, but your role not being what you had imagined it would be, how do you think you took steps forward to then like refocus to club and start to move on from, obviously this was like traumatic and like really difficult?
Yeah, I mean, we actually had a game like very like soon after. And I think I took I was like, oh, I want to play right away.
Yeah.
You know, like I want to play in that game. I just want to get back to playing soccer. And then I like scored like as soon as I got on the field. And I was like, yeah, like this is the best feeling ever. And then like after the game, I was like, oh, that didn't like feel as good as I like thought it was gonna. But I think it took a really long time to process. Like even after our season ended and everything, like I think this off season was when I really like took the time to like sorry, my dog started to come on me.
Oh, it's okay.
Took the time to process like what had happened, because then it's like you leave national team and then it's like, oh, well, your club's still going, so you have to like focus on that and put that in the past, put that aside for the time being.
Right. And you feel that loyalty and responsibility for your club as well. You don't want to just, even if in that moment you did need rest, which I'm sure you did, you then feel that pull to go back to your club. And I do want to go back really quickly. Your coach at the time, Mark Parsons, called this the beginning of your revenge tour because you scored less than a minute into your first appearance back with the Spirit. You said for a moment, it was like, oh yeah, like this feels great. But then afterwards you realize maybe it didn't feel as good as you thought. Can you go a little bit more into that? Like, was it just that the kind of cloud of the World Cup didn't just disappear? Or can you just explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, exactly that. I felt like, oh, I'm going to come back and I'm just going to play really great and like prove everyone wrong. And then I was just kind of like, oh, like I think I actually need to deal with this. Like, it's not just going to go away because you're playing well, you know?
Yeah.
And that was probably, I haven't gone through anything that hard, I would say. So I think I was a little naive and just assuming that like, oh, well, things are going well. Like, I'm just going to like forget about that. It's not really something you can just forget about.
Right. No, it's not. And I'm glad, it sounds like you have processed it. And I think this is going to transition us into more like where we are now. But just to wrap up the World Cup, do you feel like the whole experience kind of is serving as motivation now to play great for your club team, make another world tournament, and this time have the impact that you want to?
Yeah, definitely. And I think, I mean, we haven't talked about the trade yet, but I definitely feel like
it's next.
Yeah, the position I'm in is helping me.
Okay, so we're talking about motivation really quickly, and then we're going to get to happy stuff. I do want to talk to you really quickly about your recent trade from the Washington Spirit to the North Carolina Courage. I'm not going to lie to you, Sanchez. When I heard you were getting traded, I was like, oh my gosh, yes. She is going to literally thrive on the Courage. It's such a perfect fit. The atmosphere, the environment, the culture of the team. I know we're not like best friends or anything, but I feel like I know you a little bit. And I was like, this is going to be really good for you. But I know that it was a surprise for you. So can you just like walk us through what happened and how did you first hear that you had been traded?
So I had just signed an extension, and from what I had heard and everything that was expressed to me, getting the Barcelona coach, there was just a lot of things. I had no idea at all. Like, there wasn't even a thought in my mind, to the point where when I answered the phone, I said, "You're not trading me, right? Ha ha ha."
Oh my God.
And obviously I was traded. But yeah, I had no idea. I actually trained there that morning.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, I know you posted afterward that your post said heartbroken and shocked, and I can only imagine that being traded out of the blue feels kind of like a betrayal, regardless of the excitement of moving to a new team, which I'm sure came eventually. But I also saw that Trinity Rodman, your spirit teammate, was so devastated that you were leaving. You two were kind of like Mario and Luigi, always posting on social together, seem really close. I'm going to miss your game day matching outfit pictures on Instagram. I looked forward to those all the time. Can you just talk a little bit about, like, obviously you were sad to be leaving the Spirit, but especially your friendship with Trinity? Like, what are some things that you miss about being on the same club as Trin?
Yeah, I mean, I think too it was hard because we didn't really have time to like hang out and like get little, memories in before I left, because it was like very quick. But I would just say, like, we were very close, or we are very close, and like we just have such a good, like, funny, lighthearted bond. And so I feel like that is something, honestly, it didn't take very long for us to like become very close. It was pretty much immediate after I felt her out for a little bit,
Yeah.
But that I'm just not going to go to another team and like have that same sort of bond.
Yeah.
Like that. I feel like that will take time, and I just feel like me and Trin have just such a special bond, and being able to see her every day and just like honestly just have fun. Like, I feel like we just have fun together. But I feel like we obviously had a very good connection on the field. So that was like devastating, that I'm like, oh, not going to be playing with you as much. But yeah, like, our matching outfits were fun, and like,
oh my God,
little TikToks. I like don't make TikToks, but like if she like, I'll make TikToks with her for her page.
Yeah.
And it's just fun.
I know. Sanchez, it's fun for the rest of us too. I have a note in here. I want to ask you about the burping TikTok. Like, oh my God, it is like the funny. If you guys haven't seen this, it's on Trinity Rodman's TikTok, and it's this TikTok of like, who is it? You, Trin, and like, I forget, it's two other people, and you're chugging.
Kelly and like Foxy.
Oh my God. Can you just explain it really quickly?
It was so good. We were in qualifiers, and we were in Mexico, so there was a lot of Topo Chico. And we just were like, I don't know if it was a trend or we made it up. I'm not quite sure. I think it was a sparkling water trend, but like Topo Chico is like burned, bubbly. Like, it's very bubbly. So we were like, oh, this would be so funny. So we were just doing it, and it was like, if you burped, you're like out, but you try to finish the whole bottle.
Yeah, but you have to like chug,
and like not really take breaths. Like, you have to like go for it. And honestly, what came out of my mouth was genuinely scary. Like, everyone's like kind of burps, and mine was like for like so long. And I kind of was like, should we not post that? Like, that was not even funny anymore. That was just like weird. But it was too good. Like, there was like, it was good personality in it, because we all are so different. Like, Foxy's in the background, like, not even burping, of course. And then there's like Kelly, me, Trin, Sada. It was honestly probably my favorite TikTok.
It is literally like my favorite TikTok. It has absolutely nothing to do with me. Like, it's so good. If you guys haven't seen it, you have to go find it. Okay, so we're on to happier things now. You're here at the Courage. You have this whole new opportunity and hopefully some new friends. What has the beginning of the season been like for you with the North Carolina Courage?
It's been good. Honestly, like, the soccer part was really easy. And I was kind of more nervous about the vibes, Like, you're like, oh, okay, I'm coming into a new team. Like, like, you don't know what to expect. And, like, the only person I really knew was, like, Casey, that I'd been around, like, recently, you know?
Casey Murphy.
Yes. So I was just kind of trying to feel it out. Yep. And then I was, like, getting texts, and everyone's like, if you need anything, like, we are going to help you, you know, whatever you need. And I'm kind of like, you don't really take people up on those offers because you're like, you know, is it genuine? Do they actually want to help? You know, like, I don't know. But everyone was so, like, so nice. Like, it was wild.
I know.
I've never been on a team that is, like, so nice and so genuine.
I know.
Like, at first you're kind of like, this gotta be fake. But then you, like, get to know everyone. You're like, oh no, everyone's just, like, so great.
I'm so happy for you. I love the Courage so much. And that's why I think when I found out you were getting traded there, like, I feel like I knew that the locker room in North Carolina, it's like this safe space to be yourself and be accepted by everyone around you. But at the same time, it, like, demands the best from you. Like, it doesn't let you get away with anything. Like, the culture is bigger than any one person. And I think that's why I just, like, was so happy that you were going to be there, is I just knew it's such a great place for anybody, but I was particularly really excited for you. And I'm curious, besides everybody being so nice, like, what else has struck you about the culture of the club?
I would just say, like, on the field stuff, like, everyone knows the fitness for Courage can be pretty crazy. So honestly, coming from another club, I was like, oh, I'm done. Like, I haven't been doing crazy fitness in years, you know? But it was really great to be on a team that just doesn't complain. Like, everyone's like, we're going to work, everyone's doing it. You know, it's like, we're in this together. And just the standards, like, every training, no matter what, like, the standards are really high. And I feel like on the club level, I haven't experienced that. Obviously, the national team, as you know, is, like, very high standards all the time. And I think this was the first time that it's like, oh, no, you don't really take a day off. Like, it's very intense. It's very demanding, but also, like, really encouraging. Like, it's not, like, a negative demand. Like, everyone's, like, uplifting at the same time, which is really nice.
Yeah, I know. It just has that, like, perfect combination of supportive and demanding. When you think about this opportunity in front of you, like, you kind of have this fresh start. You can demonstrate what all of us already know, how freaking good you are. You're so dangerous, such an incredible player. You're with this new team. Do you see this culture and opportunity at the Courage as a way for you to get back in with the national team? Like, what are your goals looking forward for the rest of the year?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like, obviously, when it happened, my life was over. And then, like, the next day I was like, oh no, this is going to be, like, very good for me. And, like, day one, I was like, oh, I'm getting the ball more. Oh, I'm getting the ball in good spaces. And, like, just having Sean kind of just give me the freedom to just do what he knows I can do, and sometimes I forget myself, has been really nice, because I feel like I haven't felt like that for a really long time. I think when I first got on the national team, I was kind of like, oh, I can kind of, like, I have no expectations, you know? Like, I can do whatever I want. Yep. And, like, I was very confident, kind of making things happen, and then you kind of get reeled back into, like, oh, I need to play within a structure, and I don't have that freedom. But I think coming here, honestly, has just helped me, like, be happy, like, playing again in a weird way. Because I felt like in previous games, I'm like, oh, I'm not getting the ball. I can't affect the game if I'm not getting the ball. And, you know, it's just, like, frustrating.
Yeah.
And I feel like now actually in a really good spot with a team that's passing and, like, more my style of play. And it's making me defend a little more too, which is what I need.
Well, I just have to say, when I saw you playing, I was at the Courage's home opener this year, and I saw you play live, and right away, you could tell the impact that you were having on the team. It does seem like such a great system for you. I see your movement and your creativity just has such an important place there within the team. So I'm really, really excited for you, and I'm looking forward to watching you continue to crush it this year. I do want to touch really quickly. I know you've spoken about your Hispanic heritage. So I just wanted to ask you about this. You grew up in Southern California. You're half white and half Mexican, but you actually didn't grow up speaking Spanish. So growing up, what was it like for you kind of like dealing with both sides or both aspects of your identity?
It was definitely interesting. I think I didn't really process it until later on, but I definitely don't look the part of Mexican. So I feel like for me, it was like people don't view me as that, so I can't really be that, if that makes sense. But like even not speaking Spanish, my dad like knows he doesn't know proper Spanish. So even in school it was like I had Spanish homework and he couldn't even help me because he knows like slang, you know? So it was just different things like that. And my grandma, she like barely speaks English. So it was just very interesting. You know, it's like she speaks a little English and she doesn't really know the words, starts speaking Spanish, and you kind of like piece it together. But I think Southern California has like such a big population of like Hispanics. So like I still get my food, you know, like it's just really nice. But yeah, I definitely feel like I like was missing a part of like my identity until I was probably way older. Last couple of years, honestly.
Yeah, what do you think, like, sorry if I'm miswording this, but what is it that you think helped you kind of rediscover that part of yourself?
Going to college around some of my like closest friends who are also Hispanic.
Yeah.
Hispanic really helped me. I still don't know Spanish, unfortunately, so I'm still gotta work on that. But also going into the World Cup, like actually a lot of Mexican media and stuff had reached out to both me and Soph Huerta, and I felt like that helped me feel kind of seen in a way because like that had never happened before, like ever. And so like also just like talking about my family and just like things that I had never really thought about before, like my grandma coming over here to the States, and like, you know, it's just kind of like what I'm just not assuming, but you don't really think about these things. Like,
yeah,
like my life is just completely different than theirs. Like I got to grow up here and all the things that they had to go through just to get here, like I hadn't really thought about before. And so I felt like being able to like talk to my dad, and my dad's getting interviewed, and it was just like a whole big thing. And I felt like that was the first time I had actually felt like a Mexican American.
Yeah, okay, that's so interesting. I have read that only 2 other Mexican American players have ever played for the U.S. women's national team. That's Soph Huerta, who you just mentioned, and Stephanie Cox. When you hear that, like, do you think there's any like reason for that? Like, is it because many Mexican Americans play for the Mexican national team, or do you think there's some sort of like gap or hole in the system where not enough Mexican American players are being given those opportunities?
Yeah, I would definitely say I don't think many Mexican Americans are getting those opportunities. I also think, you know, on the men's side, there is Mexican Americans in their system, but I also think for women's soccer, it's very expensive. And not everyone's fortunate enough to be able to be put in a position to be playing in front of coaches or national team or big clubs, you know? Whereas like on the men's side, they don't have to pay. So it's like if you're good, you can go and you can do all these things. But I also think there is a lot of Mexican Americans that are getting sought out by the Mexican Federation. And honestly, they've been doing really well.
Yeah.
But I definitely think they're just not getting put in a position. Yeah. Because there's way too many Mexican Americans for there only to be 3 of us. I mean, that's a pretty crazy stat.
Yeah, it really is. Well, Ash, thank you so much for sharing that. I'm so glad that we could hear from you about those things. We have just like 2 or 3 more really quick questions. These are fun. They're from our listeners on social media. First up, Adele on Twitter wants to know, why did you choose the number 2?
Oh, well, I was number 2 in college. And so I kind of had like a little thing towards it there. And then national team, I would wear the 2 a lot. And then honestly, I was kind of like, oh, like me and Trent kind of could both be two. Like that'd be fun. And so that was honestly the reason I did that.
Oh my gosh, so cute. I love that. Okay, second question. Big fan of the show, women's game superfan Meredith Speck asked on Instagram, who is your favorite new teammate?
My favorite new teammate. Oh, I mean, I feel like I kind of have to say Mare because she asked the question. But honestly, okay, so like I got really close with Haley and Sydney Collins like pretty quick, and they're more my age. But I feel like Mare and Ryan are like a little bit older, and I think
like you're cool older sisters.
Yes, like that's kind of how I feel. So I would say maybe them because it's just been really fun, and they don't act, not like you're supposed to act a certain way when you're that age. I'm not trying to say they're like super old or anything, but I just feel like they have such like young souls and they're like in with the times.
Oh my God, yes. So Sanchez is talking about Meredith Speck and Ryan Williams, and they are so in with the times. Mary is like my trend. Like she like reminds me that I have to like, I don't know, do my eyebrows. Like she's like my like trendy friend. I freaking love her. I love Mary Speck. Okay, one more question. Who were your greatest football inspirations growing up? This question is from Laura on Twitter.
Well, I had a Mia Hamm jersey that I would wear like every day. So I would probably say Mia Hamm and definitely Messi. Messi, like, he gets me. Something about he's just so cute and good, and he's so like humble and like quiet, and and obviously he's like the best football player of all time, of course, but I just think like his personality too just makes it so much better.
So cute. Okay, Mia Hamm and Messi, a killer combination. Sanchez, I'm so happy that we got this chance to speak. I've been thinking about you ever since last summer's World Cup, and especially again when you got traded. I'm really, really excited for you. I've loved watching you play with the Courage, my old team. You fit in there perfectly. You've had already such an incredible start to the season. Having had this conversation with you now, I realize how difficult your past year has been in a lot of ways. And I want to just ask you as the very last question, I promise. How have these difficult moments like made you believe in yourself more? Like, how are you feeling about yourself now that you've gone through all of this?
Ooh, you're like my therapist.
I know, right? Jesus.
I don't know. I mean, I think just having like such a good attitude and knowing that I can get through like such hard times, I kind of was just like, well, the only thing I can make this worse if I got injured. Like I'm at the bottom of the bottom. Like it's only up from here. It was kind of my mentality. And I was just kind of like, well, I'm not really in with the national team right now. Like I'm on a new team. Like a lot of stuff's going on. I'm like, there's nothing else I can do but like go up, you know, like there's not really many, I don't want to say there's not expectations of me, but it's kind of like I have like an opportunity to like be myself and not take the game so serious and kind of play the way I want to play. But I would say mentally, I was just kind of like, once I got past it, I was just like really proud of myself, which I don't say. It's like so weird. But yeah, just like getting through it. And I felt like it was like one thing after the other. And I was just like, all right, just keep going. And now I'm like at a place where I'm like happy playing soccer again and like just have a new opportunity. So it's like a fresh new start almost.
Yeah, I know it is. I'm like so happy for you. I'm so excited for you. Thank you so much for your honesty and like vulnerability throughout this whole thing. I'm so glad that we could have you on the show, and I am always cheering for the Courage and for you. I'll be cheering for you all season.
Thank you.
Oh, I freaking love Sanchez so much. It was so much fun to chat with her. Every time I watch the Courage play, I am so impressed with her creativity and technical ability in the midfield. I am a big fan of hers. And after talking to her so openly about some of the challenges she faced in 2023, I'm really rooting for her to have lots of success this year. That's all for today. Make sure you're subscribed to this podcast feed. You can always leave us a rating and a review in your podcast app. Follow along with us across our socials, Women's Game MIB on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. You can also send me an email at womensgamemib@menandblazers.com if you want more inside scoops on what movies I liked and disliked as a kid, like Elizabeth. Next week's guest is U.S. Women's National Team and Chicago Red Stars goalkeeper Alyssa Nair. It's a masterclass on penalty kicks that I cannot wait to share with you all. Alyssa is currently rehabbing from an injury that she picked up in club play, so she unfortunately won't be at camp with the U.S. this week. But we will hope to see her back on the field for Chicago's game at Wrigley Field on June 8th. Thank you all so much for being here. We'll see you soon.